Hello everybody, this is the Fantasy Father. I'm here to bring you my Week 14 sits and starts. This is a very important week. This is playoff week for most of you out there. So let's see who you should sit this week and who you should start. First, let's go over the sits for Week 14. Coming in first, I have Matt Ryan going against Carolina. $7,100 on FanDuel, $6,100 on DraftKings. Matt Ryan has been a disappointment this year so far, especially lately in fantasy. Last 4 weeks, he's only put up one 20-point fantasy week. He only has 3 20-point fantasy weeks for the year. Very disappointing, especially with how explosive that offense should be. Nightmare matchup this week against Carolina. I do not like Matt Ryan this week. Next, I have Dorial Green-Beckham. He had a huge game last week. He's going against the Jets this week. $5,100 on FanDuel, $3,700 on DraftKings. Green-Beckham was great last week. I think that was a little bit of an outlier. I don't see that type of performance this week, especially against the Jets. Pretty good defense here. You don't want to have someone like Dorial Green-Beckham in your starting lineup that's a boom or bust come playoff time in fantasy. That's a nightmare. That could be a huge mistake if you start him this week and he underperforms. So look to get someone else in that spot. Next, I have James White going against Houston. A lot of people like James White this week. I am one of those that do not. We have such a short memory of Belichick running backs. Outside of Deion Lewis, Belichick has always left us scratching our heads when it comes to New England running backs. So I think this returns. I think Belichick kind of does this on purpose. So James White is a risky play this week, in my opinion. He could possibly have great numbers and he could propel you to victory, but he could also put up next to nothing as well. We've all seen that with New England running backs in the past. So if you can, do not start James White this week. Next, we have DeMarco Murray going against Buffalo. Same thing kind of with White. He's a boom or bust type of guy. He went to the owner this week and wants to know his role in the future and wants to know his role in this with his team. DeMarco Murray has been a huge disappointment. Plus, Ryan Matthews is coming back this week. I do not like DeMarco Murray. You need someone at your running back you can trust that's going to get you 10 to 15 points consistently. DeMarco Murray is not that back. Yes, he could have 15 points, but he could also have 3. You just don't want that kind of inconsistency at your running back in the playoffs. Last but not least, Dez Bryant going against Green Bay. $7,400 on FanDuel, $6,800 on DraftKings. This pains me to say, but bench Dez Bryant. Man, I never thought I would say that. But this offense is awful. The Dallas offense is awful. I know you all saw the game probably on Monday night. It was a dreadful game until the last couple of minutes of it. Matt Castle cannot get the ball. Dez Bryant didn't even have a catch till I think late in the third, maybe even the beginning of the fourth quarter. He only had 3 catches on 7 targets. Really? Dez Bryant's a top 5 receiver in the football league, if not top 3. You're giving him 7 targets and only 3 catches. And I don't think that's going to change this week against Green Bay. I think Green Bay's stout on D. I think they're going to try to lock down Dez Bryant, and Matt Castle will not be able to make the plays to Dez Bryant that he needs. So if you can, I know this is tough, but start someone else over Dez Bryant. I know that's tough. So now let's look at some players that you could start in Week 14 that might propel you to that victory that you need. First, I have Ryan Fitzpatrick going against Tennessee. $7,800 on FanDuel, $5,400 on DraftKings. Ryan Fitzpatrick has been solid. Back-to-back 20-point games. Should be 3 in a row this week against Tennessee. Tennessee's not great defensively. I think Fitzpatrick puts up another 20, 25-point game. I have Matt Ryan on one of my teams, and I benched him last week for Ryan Fitzpatrick, and that was definitely the right move. I'm going to start Fitzpatrick again this week. I think Fitzpatrick, like I said, puts up another 20, 25-point game against Tennessee, if not more. Next, I have John Brown going against Minnesota, $6,300 on FanDuel, $4,500 on DraftKings. Continuing to be the deep ball threat in Arizona. John Brown's always a threat to score, 113 yards last week. I think he gets something similar this week, possibly a touchdown. He's always, like I said, a threat to score. I really like John Brown this week. Next, TJ Yeldon going against Indianapolis. Huge game last week, and surprisingly, for the first time, they gave Yeldon the ball at the goal line, and he scored. It was great. He had back-to-back goal line carries, and one of those he put in the end zone. He's going against the soft Colts D that look, I think he has similar numbers this week. I think he has over 100 total yards, probably scores again. I think TJ Yeldon is a solid play this week against a very soft defense in the Colts. Next, I have Austin Seferian-Jenkins going against New Orleans. Jenkins is back. He'd been on a long injury spell this year. Last week was his first week back fully. He played 21 out of 71 snaps, I think. Still the number 2 target on the team with 6. I think his role will continue this week. I think he will get in the game a lot more this week, probably 50 snaps or so. So look for him to get 10 plus targets. I think he has a great chance to score. New Orleans can't stop anyone. I think Austin Seferian-Jenkins is a great play this week. If you need a tight end to plug in here, this should be your guy. Last but not least, Johnny Manziel. Johnny Football is back, folks. He's going against the 49ers, and you know how I felt all year about the 49ers. They have been dreadful. Johnny Manziel, this may be his last chance to prove himself with Cleveland. I think he takes advantage of this dream matchup. Manziel, I think, puts up a pretty good game here. Probably 20, I would imagine 20 plus fantasy points for Manziel this week. But this is a great matchup for Manziel. And if you need a quarterback and you kind of need someone that gets you a lot of points, and you have someone, maybe you've been starting Kirk Cousins or Brock Osweiler or Ryan Tannehill, this could be a great substitute for those 3 players. $6,400 on FanDuel, $5,000 on DraftKings. Absolutely great value in both of those formats. I really like Johnny Manziel this week. I think he puts up pretty good numbers against San Francisco. Thanks for watching this video. Hit subscribe if you like this channel. Give me a thumbs up. Leave me some feedback in the comment section below. And you can also follow me on Twitter @FantasyTeach.